Okay, this video is for the 7-2 math class. This is chapter 8, lesson 1. We're going to be talking about circles. We're going to talk about the parts of the circle and the circumference of a circle. The first thing you need to know is that most circles are named after their center. Okay, if I had an A there, it would be circle A. All right. The distance from one side to another side going through the center is called the diameter. Okay, all the way across, it's the longest part across the circle. If I went only from the center to the outside of the circle, that would be called the radius. So the radius is in essence half of the diameter. Okay, so if I told you that the diameter is 20 inches, could you tell me what's the radius? Well, if the radius is half of the diameter, what's half of 20? Half of 20 is 10, so the radius is 10 inches. Okay, that's pretty simple, and you've probably seen this before. If I told you the radius is 5 centimeters, could you tell me what the diameter equals? Well, if the radius is 5, that's half of the diameter, so what's 5 times 2? The diameter would then be 10 centimeters. Okay, are we cool with that so far? Let's take another circle here. And let's say I told you the distance around, if I were right here on the circle and I walked all the way around the outside edge, that's called the circumference. That's the distance around a circle. It's like the perimeter on a circle that, or on a shape that has straight lines, okay? So to find the circumference, which it's kind of hard to measure because circles are hard to measure, right? The formula, there's two formulas for the circumference. You can have the diameter times pi, or you can have 2 times pi times the radius. In other words, we got to have the diameter, we got to have pi. Now, you ask, what is pi? I'm going to tell you what pi is. Pi is a special number called 3.14. This is what we round it to, okay? Or we can use the fraction 22 sevenths. And I'll show you where sometimes it's easier to use the fraction 22 sevenths. But either way, you can use either one. It doesn't matter. These are both estimates. So let's say I tell you that the radius is 5 inches. Can you find the circumference? Well, I have the radius, so I could put it right there, right? 2 times pi times 5. So then I have 10 times pi. And then I put in 3.114 for pi, and I get 31.4 inches. Okay, so that's where you would use the 3.14. Let's say instead I told you that the radius was 28 millimeters. And I asked you to use 22 sevenths for pi. Okay, so the circumference equals 2 times 22 sevenths times 28. So you could put it all in one. But one real important thing here to notice is if this will cancel, 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 28 4 times. So now I've got the circumference equals 2 times 22 times 4, which should be really easy to do, right? So 2 times 22 is what, 44? And 44 times 8, 44 times 4? I think, oh, I'm sorry, that's 7. That's what's funny. Oh my gosh, sorry. No, that's right. 7 goes into there 4 times. That's right. 2, 2, 2. Times 4. So I get 8 times 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 22 is 16. Carry the 176 millimeters. So that's our new circumference, right? I was doing that right the whole time. So just if they tell you use 22 sevenths, you have to. If they don't tell you, you don't have to. You can use anything you want. Let's talk about finding the circumference, the perimeter of a semicircle. Let's say we're given a semicircle like this. Okay. Your first thought is just do the formula for circumference and then divide it by 2, right? That makes a lot of sense, except we've got this straight line here, we've got this diameter, so we have to add that. So the circumference of this, or the perimeter, is diameter times pi plus the diameter. Okay, actually, let me rephrase that. Diameter times pi divided by 2 plus the diameter. Okay, so if I tell you the diameter is 10, so I'm going to do circumference equals 10 times 3.14 divided by 2, and I'm going to add this to it. Okay, so I get 31.4 divided by 2 plus 10. So I get 15.7 plus 10, which is 25.7, and whatever the units was. Okay, so that's how you find the circumference of a semicircle. Okay, diameter times pi divided by 2, and then add the diameter. Okay, that ends this lesson.